Hello, everybody. Today I want to take you back to the source. Now that's actually a ridiculous statement because you're not other than the source. You are an expression of the source. This is an expression of the source. Oneness is an expression of the source. But the source is not limited to being this or you or oneness. The source actually doesn't even need you or me or oneness. I mean, I don't think it has anything against us. But it's just not about us. But it's not about us. This is always the paradox. It's neither does it work this way or this way. It works both ways. So, yeah, I know, but which way does it lean? So what I want to do is show you for yourself, because that's what this teaching really does. It doesn't make much difference for me to get up here and talk for 10 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour about how I see things. Who cares? It's an empty unit. But it's an expression of the source, but what matters is what is that expression of the source? What does it see? How does it see things? That's what we're really here to find out. So let's start with way into unit identification. Because for 50 years, I thought, 50 plus years, I thought I was a Fred Davis, and that Fred Davis was in search of spiritual enlightenment. I thought that I needed to be freed from something. So there was no question that I was a Fred Davis. I was a Fred Davis, and this is what a Fred Davis looked like. It was this body. Well, I came to find out that that's not quite true. It's not completely untrue, because there is still a Fred Davis experience here. It's not believed in. It's not catered to often, but it's still the experience here. And sometimes it is catered to, right? The unit's got its preferences. Who cares? Let it do what it does. It can't not do it anyway. So we come to unsee that we can have a glimpse and unsee that. We can have, I did in 1992, I had a very, very strong, clear glimpse and a seeing that, oh, that ain't true. And I know that what I actually experienced in 1992 was that the way that it came out to this good Buddhist at the time was, I am God, which was an odd sort of phrase to come up out of a good Buddhist, but that's the way it was. But what happened is that instantly that ego took over and changed that viewpoint, where it became that Fred Davis woke up, right? Fred woke up, and that I am part of God. See, Fred is part of God, but not God. I mean, we don't want to go there. And I understand, and there's no lack of humility over here. In this particular case, when I refer to me or you or anybody else as God, and I can refer to us as parts of God if it makes you more comfortable, but just which part are you? I mean, this is an indivisible thing. That's why they call it oneness. So there really are no parts. There are apparent parts. This is an apparent part, that this arising here. That's another apparent part. And this microphone and this thing back here, they're all apparent parts. But there actually are no parts. So once again, does it work this way or does it work that way? It works both ways. It's neither. It's not either or. It's both. It's always both. So we come to in that glimpse. Let's go by my experience, so that we're not talking hypothetically. In my experience, in that glimpse, there was the knowing. Oh my goodness, there is no. See, that's the thing, is that I could see that I was God because I could see what I was, but I didn't really see at that time, as I recall, that there was no Fred. I had this in a session recently with a woman who knew who she was, but she didn't know who she wasn't. And there was the seeing of what I was, but there was not the seeing of what I wasn't. So in other words, somewhere in there, in the experience itself, there was no Fred because there was just God, but instantly there was a Fred applied to that situation by the mind. So that it was Fred's win, and seconds later it was Fred's loss, right? So, but that unseeing happened. Now, from then on, I knew that I couldn't remember exactly what I had seen, but I knew that I had seen that I was at very least part of God. I knew there was one thing going on, even though my experience was otherwise, even though my experience confounded me. But and I kept trying to unsee the unseeing, which was that, gee, I don't think I really saw that, but I did. So 14 years later, a mere 14 years later, I had people that wake up and they're just so disappointed that they don't stay awake, quote, quote, unquote, permanently. I was a mere 14 years between awakening experiences. So in 2006, big awakening comes, and I see, I can see now there is just one thing going on, and I'm it, and there's no Fred. Much, much fuller seeing. Same thing, both authentic, but this was just a much fuller seeing. So now I'm not just like a part of God. Now I am God, or I am. It's not really so. I mean, I'm prior to God, but this is just a way of speaking. So I'm part of God to I am God, and I'm not a Fred, because there can't be one thing going on plus a Fred. That's seen clearly. But there's still a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of identification with a Fred. Because what woke up was awakeness and not this Fredness, not the conditioning. The conditioning didn't wake up. So given the fact that the conditioning didn't wake up, it continued to play out just like my ceiling fan does if I cut it off. It just gets slower and slower. But it revolves and revolves and revolves for a long time, and it's still revolving here, just not at the speed or consistency that it used to. But don't think that there's no Fredness left here. I mean, this is what it looks like, this is what it talks like, this is what it moves its hands like. I mean, all this is Fredness. There's no one here. Right? This is just an animated cadaver, but and this is what the cadaver does. It's because it's a combination of internal and external conditioning, and of course circumstance. So I really had come to see what I wasn't much more clearly that time than what I was. So I'm not a Fred, but I couldn't grasp I knew the oneness because I had seen the oneness, but I couldn't yet really grasp that I was it. I mean, I had experienced it, don't get me wrong, but and I had experienced it at length. But when it dried up, so to speak, it just dried up and I couldn't recall it. But all of these things are false these are false identifications that we're beginning to see through. As time went on, there became the understanding, not my understanding, the understanding that there is just one thing going on, which means I can't not be it, which was a whole other way of looking at things. And once I saw that I could not be it, then there developed a oneness teaching here, which is that there's no Fred. There's just this one thing going on, and that I'm it. And that went on for, I don't know, a couple of years. The sense of it went on longer than that, but the teaching of it probably went on, I don't know, 2-3 years. And then there came further seeing, and it was a valid teaching, because it's very important to reach that point. It's the most important shift anybody ever makes. So it was a valid teaching. It was a true teaching. It just wasn't as true as what's taught now, because it didn't go as far. So then there came to be seeing that, oh, I'm actually prior to this oneness. I am a disembodied something. Yeah? But I know I am. I don't know what I am. I don't know where I am. I don't know who I am. I don't know what. I mean, I know who I am in a sense. Ram and I could have a nice conversation about it, but I don't know what that oneness is. I don't know what that I amness is. I mean, the oneness I did know. Let me backtrack. The oneness felt I was referring to manifestation. When I talked about oneness at that time, I was talking about manifestation, and most of the time that I will be talking about oneness today, I will still be talking about manifestation. And manifestation has got its various charms, and I'm all for it, but I don't talk nearly as much about it anymore, because it's a phase. It's a certain, I hate to use the word levels. It's just it's not levels. It's just that we're climbing a rope, and it doesn't matter whether we're climbing it up or down. It's just a further seeing. Okay, just a further seeing. So there's the clear seeing that that there's just this I am, and that went along for a good long while, and I knew that because what the old saying was, if you can't say you're not, because there'd have to be something there to say that you're not. And that makes a lot of sense, and until it doesn't. And then there came on this thing where, oh my God, I can't actually report I am. I just realized I could not. I really went on quote, my own experience. I'm reporting from a unit. I'm doing the best I can with language, and I'm limited. So you'll have to forgive me for the non-dual foul ups. Because if we want to talk about what's true, we'll just have to shut up. For the next 10 seconds, I'm going to tell you everything I know that's true. Can't put it into words, see? So there came this realization that I was prior to I am. That I was prior to consciousness. It came to be seen that I am and consciousness, and I can use them here as synonyms. It came to be seen that they are both arisings. That consciousness is an arising, and I am is an arising. There is just the slightest hint, but boy, don't think it's not there, of dualism there, because I am. I am. I don't know what I am. I'm disembodied, this and that. I'm invisible, but I am. Well, I came to where I just had no confidence in saying that, and that's where I stand today. No confidence whatsoever in saying I am. I'm not saying I'm not. See, that's the difference. It's not. I'm not doing that flip. I'm not saying, well, since I can't say I am, I must be able to say I'm not. That applies in many, many things, but this ain't one of them. What I'm saying is I'm just not qualified to say things like that, because I don't actually know it. What I teach is what I know, and when I say when I actually don't know anything. So what I should say is what I really teach is an undoing, it's an unknowing. And what I know is that it's not true for me to tell you that I am, because I don't know if I am or not. What I do know is that there's a sense of being. But when I look at the sense of being, when I can't not use the word, so we'll continue to use it even though it's right? Not accurate. Is that there's the is that what I notice is that there's a sense of being. I just notice it right now. You can notice it too. There's a sense of presence here. There's a sense we are here. There's a sense of aliveness. You can't deny it. That's even more true than I am, is that there's a sense of being. But I noticed that there used to be a sense that I was afraid, and that's been seen through. I had a sense this morning that it was going to rain here, and it didn't. A sense of something is not the same thing as the truth of something. So the sense of something doesn't point toward the truth of anything. Necessarily it can, but it doesn't have to. So there's this strong sense of being. And that sense of being has long been equated as a synonym to I am, but it's not. Because there's no I there. It's the difference between I am and amming. When a baby first comes out of its mama's womb, there's the experience there for it of oneness, experiencing oneness as oneness without even that knowledge. Doesn't even know it. But that there's a sense of being there. Watch it move. There's a sense of being. It's sensing a universe, an outside world. That's the way that the play works. And it looks to us like it's a separate being from these separate beings' eyes. Looked at from oneness, I can see it's just a pimple. So not that I have anything against babies or pimples. So then, just as I get really, really comfortable, see, I get comfortable with every position I'm in, and then the rug gets yanked out from underneath me. Thank God. Right? Because I just don't want this thing to quit. It's not gonna, I know that. But like right now, but every place I get it feels like, well, this is the end. This is it. I got it. And this is, I mean, it doesn't, well, it does feel like this, except for the I got it part. I mean, it's not, that's not quite it. It's just known, well, this is it. Here it is at last. This is the bottom line. That's a good way to put it. This is the bottom line. The final seeing. But I've had that so many times now that it's very, very difficult for me to take it seriously. So quite frankly, it's difficult for me to take what I'm telling you today all that seriously either. It is serious in the sense that it's the truest thing that I can tell you. But that doesn't mean that it is actually the truth. It's not... it's not the truth. It's the truth as far as it goes. Whether it goes far enough, I don't know. This is as far as I can see. There's the sense I am. Notice that. Notice that you thought you were a certain individual. Maybe you still do. That's okay. Because even if you can't follow all this, you just follow along anyway. Because I'm not talking to that character over there. I'm talking to me, and I will understand this. I will feel it. I will get it on some level. If I don't run with the ball today, I'm going to run with the ball sooner or later, because I can't unhear this message once it's been heard. So I thought I was a Fred. That was not true. I thought I was a body as well. And I have come to see that that's not true. It's not untrue. It's just that I'm not limited to being any one body. I came to see that I was oneness, and that was true. I was oneness, and there can't be oneness plus a Fred body. So, but the Fred body, the apparent Fred body, the Fred experience is not other than oneness. but it's not equal to oneness. The body is not, the whole on is not equal to the whole. But it's not other than the whole. And then there is the seeing that, oh, I'm not oneness, I am. I'm a disembodied witness, right? That's really where that which is prior to oneness comes in, which what I sometimes refer to it as noneness, which is ridiculous to refer to it as anything, but I'm doing a video, so shoot me for trying. So this noneness comes to be known. I'd like for you to close your eyes right now. Think back to when you believed yourself to be an individual, even if that was 2 minutes ago. Notice that in your heart you know that's not true. You just know it's not true. Why would you be following non-duality if you thought that was true? I mean, you're trying to undo that seeing. So it's just not true, and you know it. You're just looking to have it fleshed out for you. And that's what we're doing here. So we thought we were this individual living in a world. Then we came to see that we were oneness and that we are the world. And then for some of us, there came the seeing that actually we are prior to oneness, prior to consciousness. We are noneness. Oneness, consciousness, manifestation are all synonyms, and that is an arising within and to us. I say within, not because that word means anything when there's no without, but because it nonetheless carries a certain flavor that will get the point across to you. I'm not a Fred. I'm not a oneness. I'm not a disembodied witness. There is witnessing, but I'm not doing it because I can't find an I. When I really go back and I feel into it, I can't find any owner to the sense of being whatsoever. There is no experience Notice that what happens is we get to this point of noneness, but we don't really get there. We don't know it. We know of it. We can't know that which is prior to knowledge, that which is prior to thought. There's something that wants to experience this noneness, but it's noneness. It's a void. There's nothing to experience. So it can't actually be experienced. When I say this is experiential, I want that in quotes. Quote unquote, it's experiential. It's experiential to an illusion. But you get this anyway. So we want to describe this thing. We want to share. But we can't share because we don't know what it is. And we can't describe it because it's prior to language. It's prior to language. It's prior to experience. It's prior to thought. It's prior to knowledge. It's prior. It's just flat out prior. What I want you to notice is that this is not so much a presence. Because look, this experience of Fred, this experience of oneness, this experience of I am, even the experience of the sense of being, certainly for the first three, there's a sense of presence with a me somewhere around there, and with the sense of being, it's still a sense of presence. But what we're doing here is prior to that sense of being. There is an implication that something has this sense of being. You see that? We can know of it. It's a sense of being. Doesn't mean the same thing as being. I'm not really on firm ground if I speak of being. Speak of the sense of being, I'm on much firmer ground. When I actually report the truth, which is that I can feel something prior to that sense of being. I can feel. It's just an intuiting. But there's no one intuiting it. There's just intuiting. Because I can know of it. It can't not be that which comes to have a sense of to have a sense of being, that which comes to know I am, that which comes to believe it's a Fred, had to previously exist. What I'm telling you now, what I'm talking to you about now, what you're hopefully feeling now, is that I'm not talking about a presence. We're not talking about now. We've been talking about a more and more and more subtle sense of presence. But now I want the whole bottom to drop out. Notice that it's not a presence that is here. It's an absence. You cannot know an absence. There's nothing to know. You cannot know a void. There is this absence that we can't even think about. The mind can't conjure it. You can't experience it because it's prior to experience, but you can't not know of it. Not if you really come here. You can't not know of it. And in a conversation that is the depth of this one, or perhaps quietly in your chair in the living room, as it occurs to me, there's the stillness that I am is noticed enough that I can feel that absence. It's almost a cyclonic absence in the sense that it makes me feel I'm very much drawn to it. I had a woman last week terrified of death. I took her here and asked her, are you scared of this? And she said, no, I'm drawn to it. And it wasn't that character talking. It was awakeness itself being drawn toward that which is prior to awakeness, prior to any kind of understanding. It is potential. We call it awakeness, but it's not awake to itself. We can't say it's not, but we can say it does not know itself. So that's the thing about you, is that you don't always know yourself. This presence that we've been spending all these years in is the result of that absence. Because it is empty, but it is the fullest emptiness that there is, because it is the potentiality for all of this. It holds the potentiality for all of this, the potential for every last thing, including this session, these words. Everything. It is like there's a membrane between what can be known and what can't be known, what can be felt and what can only be intuited by we know not what. But you can take your hand and press it against that membrane, and you can know your true nature. What do you call it? You can't call it anything. How do you describe it? You cannot. What can we say about it? Nothing. Sit here and notice. Sit here at the edge of the vortex. To no thing. The vortex of the void. The edge of the vortex of the void. The very edge of the sense of existence. No you, no world, no problem. No you, no world, no tension. No worry. No distress. Within the world there is elation and there is pain, and neither one of them are yours. You experience them vicariously through this avatar, but you don't have to own them. Recognize that it's virtual reality. There's not what knows the virtual reality. It just doesn't work like that. That sense of being is as far as we can go. But that sense of being was not there prior to your birth. That sense of being was not there in deep dreamless sleep. Am I saying that you died? No. Am I saying that you weren't there? No. I'm saying that you, whatever it is that you are that I can't even speak of, you don't always know yourself. You come to know yourself when one of these bodies somehow manifests. And it is a consciousness tree. It bears the fruit of consciousness. The essence of this body is consciousness. At which point there is a sense of being, at which from that develops a sense of I am, which from that develops a sense of I am Fred. But what's true is no thing. the absence from which all presence arises. Open your eyes when you're ready. I'll see you soon.